So,
Oh, cool.
I'm here live with Jordan Rahme, my boy. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, brother.
So, we're going to talk largely about sovereignty. And I actually just want to make an announcement just because we were talking about this right before we started recording. This is going to be the last Spiritual Fuckboy episode. So, I'm going to take a little break while I launch my brand.
Oh, shit.
And we're going to transition into Live from the Source for the reason actually you were just saying. It's sort of a Trojan horse kind of like marketing strategy for some. But ultimately, when I'm building this brand and this community with Cole, who you're also building with, I can't help but notice that it absolutely degrades the integrity of the content that I'm bringing, which is not even like directly related to sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
It's loosely related to sexuality, but the whole Spiritual Fuckboy thing, it came with the wave with the whole Playgirl cover Man of the Year era.
Yeah.
But that's over now. I'm not doing that shit anymore. So we're evolving, we're growing, and we're changing the name to Live from the Source, starting whenever I record next.
Wow. So I get to be the final spiritual fuckboy.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
How
Congrats.
funny. Thank you. End of an era.
But like I said, so this podcast is going to be about sovereignty.
Yeah.
So I'll hand it off to you. What does sovereignty mean to you?
Yeah, great question. So like sovereignty is, we hear this term in the space, right? Oh, to be a sovereign being, but like, what does it mean? And it comes down to authority and where we place authority. So like for me, so let's even talk less about what's my definition of sovereignty, but why sovereignty? Like, why do I care? Why does it matter?
Totally.
I was the kid who played by all of the rules. Right? Like the perfect 4.0 student, perfect attendance. Like, who do you need me to be? And I will be it so fully and so perfectly so you will love me and not abandon me. So I outsource every piece of authority to somebody else, right? To fucking Santa Claus, to my parents, to the priest.
Yeah.
I once forgot to return a library book in 3rd grade and I had a panic attack. I'm gonna burn in hell forever because I stole, right? So outsourcing our authority, like who calls shots over us. And then once I started to realize, and this is a whole rabbit hole, my life arc, once I started to realize that the people calling the shots don't know shit. Like they don't know who they are. They know less than most people, the people who are calling the shots. They're so rigid and they're telling me who I should be.
When you say people calling the shots, do you mean like culture, religion, your parents, all the above?
All of it. Mm-hmm. Teachers growing up, right? Are you educated? Like for instance, I have a big boy degree. I have a big, nice degree. Am I highly educated or am I heavily indoctrinated?
It's a great question.
Right? And the older I've gotten, the more I've looked at my degree as how perfectly did I fit in the box that they created to get their stamp of approval.
Totally.
Right? So I can get their reference against my name so people go, their prestige is a reflection of his trustworthiness.
Right.
So I played their game, fit in their box so fully and perfectly that they gave me a stamp of approval.
Wow.
So I'm indoctrinated.
Yep.
And I learned a lot of really beneficial stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm a mouthpiece for their entity. Yeah. Not a sovereign being.
And when you say their entity, you mean the like conglomerate system.
Well, in this case, like the University of Michigan.
Okay.
Like I proved that I played their rules. Mm-hmm. So people go, we know their rules. We know their standard. And he played by their rules and passed their standard with these metrics. So we're going to give him a shot, right? Because he's a function of their machine, it's so like to speak.
The academic credentialing board that again is judging you. How well do you fit into our system?
Exactly.
How well do you, like you said, kind of fit the mold, get the grades, do all the things according to our standards?
Exactly.
Again, there's not like critical thought there.
Yeah. It's
more just like, they pick the vector for you.
Yep.
And then they launch you in that direction. It's like, let's see how far you can go.
Yeah.
Without asking, hey, do I even want this? Or
exactly.
What is the impact going to be on my life long term?
Yeah.
And so many people are in that, including myself. Like I went straight from high school into college, failed my first semester miserably because I didn't know what the fuck to do. I just left home. I'm like, great. Now I can just smoke as much weed as I want and chill with shorties and what a great way to fail every class.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, then I had this existential crisis. What do I do? And there aren't other paths like readily available. Yeah. Like there's like a gap year, but considering both my parents are MDs, I don't know your parents and their backgrounds, but both my parents really kind of pushed, go to college, go to college, go to college. So I felt like I have to, or else I'm almost like less than.
Exactly.
And it's like, I'm now conscious of this, but at that time it felt objectively real.
Yeah.
And coming back to sovereignty was like the standards of my parents, the standards of academia, and trying to fit into that and comparing myself according to their standards.
Yeah.
And it felt like such a crushing cage. And again, now I have some, perspective on it.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, I don't want to be a loser. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be homeless. I guess I have to do this. But there's no time to think.
Yeah.
Like going straight from high school. Okay, you're 18. Great. You're almost, a man. You're growing up. And then you go straight into undergrad. Yeah. And let's hope to God you get through that. And then what? And I had this other guy on the podcast. He's a rabbi and he works with students here at CU in Boulder. And he says so many kids will graduate and get like their dream job, like $100+ K a year. And they're miserable. Yeah. And because they don't have that reflection or that critical thought. And I would say actually that sovereignty. Exactly. To come back to themselves and be like, what do I want? Because mommy or daddy or the system has been choosing what they want for so long. So this topic of sovereignty, I'm with you. And I know it's done so much for you, but I feel like for a lot of people out there, it could seem either scary or confusing. Yeah. Like, how do you start to step into that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you named it. The first thing is recognizing that we live in a cage, right? And there's this whole, like, there's layers to the game of like, oh, it's all just a simulation in a matrix and in prison. Right. And on one hand, yes, it's absolutely true. And on the other hand, it's kind of blown out of proportion. Yeah. The thing that I come down to is instead of being a crybaby victim of like, wah, here's the era that we live in, the generation, here's the game is rigged, wah, and just fucking crying about it. Right. And sovereignty is like, how about we learn what the rules of this game are so we can play the right way? Instead of crying about the rules, either change them or master them. Yeah. Instead of crying about them. Yeah. Right. Like the drama triangle. Right. You have like the victim, the villain, and the hero. Yeah. And and that's a whole separate psychological piece. Right. But we oscillate between roles on the drama triangle. And this victim piece of it is like, oh, I can't do anything about it. And it's like, and so much of what I'm teaching based on what I'm learning is what do the people in charge, the people who are calling the shots, what rules do they play by? Like we talk about taxes, right? And like these corporate firms haven't paid any taxes and Donald Trump hasn't paid any taxes. And like, yeah, fuck them on one hand, like straight up, like fuck them. And on the other hand, how are they legally doing it? Because they understand the rules and they're not breaking the rule. I mean, some people are, but you can play by the rules and pay no taxes. Why? Because you understand the rules. Gotcha. So instead of crying about the rules, learn the rules. Totally. So we can win the game and play effectively, totally. You know?
Yeah. So I'm hearing kind of taking the reins over your life.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't like a system, let's understand it.
Yeah.
And I think because I'm obviously a therapist and sort of like, I call myself like a liberation guide, if anything. I don't like guru or teacher or anything like that. But in both those fields, as far as teaching spirituality and giving therapy, there comes a question of what do I want? Really? Mm-hmm. What do I want? And that takes critical reflection. Yeah. And seem to be in a stream where there's so much momentum of I want money. I want everyone to like me. I want a certain quality of life in order to be happy. And my question is, are you sure that's what you want?
Yeah.
Like really deeply, is that the game we want to play? Is that where we want to point our vector? Or is that just where everyone else is pointing the vector?
Exactly.
And this is where sovereignty for me, from like a very spiritual lens, it makes me think of teachers like Christ, like Buddha, people that left everything actually.
Yeah.
The material world, they're like, nah, I'm good. And it's like you take a radical shift in the vector.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you need some radical sovereignty.
Yeah.
Because otherwise everyone's looking at you like the Buddha, he's just begging for food. Everyone's like, no, fucking loser. Yeah. You know what I mean? Obviously That wasn't quite the culture in India at the time. But if you're just going to compare yourself to others based on, say, material success, if that's the only metric of success we have, then we're going to be stuck in that game.
Yeah.
If we want to look for something, I would say a little bit deeper, meaning more internally focused about like what are the sources of happiness? What are the sources of peace or fulfillment?
Yeah.
If we're going to look in that direction, I think it's somewhat necessary to be able to build boundaries. And that's something that I've been practicing in my life personally. Hanging with all these girls now because I just hit a wave like through mostly socials. And like all these girls want to hang out and I'm like, I'm down. But then it would get to this point as far as like, because I love really being able to provide and to show up and make them happy in like all sorts of ways, like emotional intimacy, physical intimacy. It doesn't matter. I just like love that feeling of providing. But then how do I build boundaries like against that, for instance, when everyone else, like so many of my friends are like, you know, they look at it and they think I'm killing it. And for me, it feels like I've had this talk with one of my like lady friends recently where it's like, this is not what my soul needs. This is not what my soul needs. This is like, it's fun and it's fulfilling in some ways, but it could never be everything. So I'm in this process of like learning how to make boundaries in that direction. And for me personally, it's tricky because of like all the wounding I had with the feminine. So it feels so good to be wanted, actually.
Yeah.
But I feel that's not all that I want. And so I'm in this place of like really trying to skillfully make boundaries and not be like, it's not them. It's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's like, it's me and the fact that I can't focus my energy, my time in the vector that I need to, which is like building this brand right now. And so for me, coming to my sovereignty in that domain is being able to build boundaries against the views and perspectives of others. And that doesn't mean I close down and shut them off, right? It means I come back to myself and I know my truth. And I know my truth. And even if they hold different truths, I know my truth. I know where I'm coming from and I can share that with them, but not letting the opinions or views of someone else seep into my experience, into my perception, because then their views become mine and I can't extract what's right, wrong, what's even me, you know, and that gets scary for me when I really feel like I'm losing myself. So that's where, for me, just with the girl example, taking a step back feels so necessary. And what a great apt time to end the spiritual fuckboy era, bro. It just makes perfect sense. But I'm curious for you, like in your own life, coming from, again, being the perfect child, doing everything right, really fitting that mold and doing it well. I think a lot of people, you know, resonate with that because you enter the world. What do I do? Well, everyone says do this. I guess I'll do it really well. Right. So what was your path to, I guess, breaking that mold and coming to your own personal sovereignty? Yeah.
Great question. Long story, but something that came up kind of an undercurrent while you're speaking is it comes back to our core values. Right? So one of my biggest mentors talks about getting clear on your values and recognizing that nobody's values are better or worse than anybody else's. So for instance, take business women. Right? We have a collective value system that says if a mother prioritizes business over parenting, then she's a bad person. She just has business as a higher value than motherhood. So if she's a single mother, might be tough on the kids. But if she has a husband who prioritizes being a father over generating income, well, as a unit, they're very complementary and they cover all bases. So it's the superimposition, right? It's the enforcing and projecting our values onto other people. So if at the core, we can understand that my values are my values, they're unique to me. They're not better or worse, but they're just mine. So I had to go through an entire process, and I'll work backwards into your question, an entire process where I thought lying and cheating is bad, period. Period. Come on, debate this. You know, tell me how lying and cheating isn't bad. And then my mentor taking us through the process of, well, what's the upside? And what's the reasoning? And then starting to understand that I was in pride around my value systems of honesty and authenticity. And since you are performing or you are lying, you are low on the scorecard of my value system. So I damn you, put you in the pit while I'm proud of myself and I am exalted. But at the end of the day, that's creating this pride shame spectrum where I'm above and better and you are below. So what kind of frequency, what kind of leader am I if I'm holding that? So to work backwards, it's recognizing that the lack of sovereignty is the embodying and absorbing these other value systems that we haven't vetted or what's the word when you discern. Right? Discern, such a juicy word, right? When I've really discerned and put through the filtration system of, are the values that I'm living my authentic values? Or are they my family's inherited values? Are they society's hallucinated, capitulated values? What value system am I living by? Right? So back to that sovereignty piece. Sovereignty is actually doing that deeper excavation of understanding, what are my unique, authentic core values? And am I living them? Or am I living somebody else's values so I can score high on their scorecard so I can be worthy of love and avoid abuse?
Yeah. So many things come to my mind. First, it really reminds me of sort of like a tribal mentality. We're in this tribe, and the last thing we want, and therapeutically speaking, one of the core wounds that most people have is rejection and abandonment.
Yep.
So the last thing that we want is we do not want to feel rejected or abandoned by the tribe, by the family unit, by the society.
Because that means death.
Exactly.
Biologically, that led to death.
And now we're in a new age where it doesn't mean death.
No,
it doesn't. But our bodies, again, hold that trauma from, I will say, the beginning of like human history.
Yeah.
You know, when we were like fighting off saber-toothed cats. Yeah, you want to go do that alone? Good luck. You know what I mean? So, but here we are, and we can be alone. We can take a step out of the society to really have those moments, I would say more than just moments, like I would say days, weeks, months, years of really prioritizing our energy, being with ourselves. And that's not bad. It doesn't mean we're pulling away from the world. We're pulling into ourselves.
Exactly.
To be able to reflect and be like, what do I want? And like that period of time for me in my life was right after I graduated undergrad, and I was like hella depressed, traveled to Asia, biked across Vietnam, ended up in ashrams in India, because I didn't give a fuck. I was like, I need to do something different.
Yeah.
My dad's like, you just got your degree, like you should be getting a job. What are you doing? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm going to kill myself if I can't just keep doing this track.
Yeah, that.
So I was like, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going to send it solo. And that time by myself, I really got to just be with me. And it was so beautiful and brutal to like really be with myself without that kind of support, without those kind of relationships, but to come back to myself and to hold myself over and over again as I was breaking.
Yeah.
And to recognize, oh, I actually do have myself. I don't need to sacrifice my values to fit into this made up mold.
Yeah.
And it was such a relief, I'd never felt freedom like that actually ever in my life.
Yeah.
And even now being back in society and having all these deep interpersonal relationships, especially with the girls that feel very deep, it's like I feel like I'm kind of losing myself to a degree.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a way to balance that. But for me, I think sovereignty, personal sovereignty, individually, I think it has to come through some degree of like reflection. Yeah. And time alone in solitude, your own energy.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
So, please.
Well, so a lot of, all right, here's a beef that I have with the spiritual world, right? Is we talk about the outcome, right? We obsess about the outcome of being exalted, being enlightened, right? Being an ascended master. But like, what does that process look like to get to that place, right? That like untouchable place. Right. And that's where, all right, here, I'm going to hit it. We're coming out of this age of the influencer agenda, the influencer era, right? Where it was about perform who you want others to see you as, and people who want what you are performing and presenting are going to follow you. They're going to engage with you. They're going to want to work with you because they want to download those codes. Right. So we're coming out of this kind of decade of the influencer coach of like bullshit and posturing and projecting and people going, I want that. Yeah. But it's all nonsense. It's all like sugar nutrition. Yeah. And we're coming into this space of authenticity being the new currency, like the new rich, right? So I'm seeing this huge shift away from the performative content into what's actually real. And what's real is ugly. Yeah. What's real is ugly. Like I was ugly crying last week and it was real, dude. It was one of the most real human experiences I've had in several months because I was like brought to my knees with grief and closure of a chapter in my life. you know? So back to this original question, or rather the thread about the process of getting to there, is the first step is understanding what incorrect or out of alignment values you're actually living by, and then letting those go.
Yeah.
And the only way really you can do that is if you get quiet. Mm-hmm. Right? So my journey kind of started in 2013, 14. I went to my first music festival, right? So I'm corporate boy. I'm like 230 pounds, alcoholic, womanizer. Like that was my fuckboy era, corporate fuckboy, right? And I was miserable. I was making almost six figures at 23, you know, and I kind of hated myself. And then I went to Electric Forest, right? So this is kind of like the origin story of Liquid Gold and how I got involved in music. Was from this music festival. And what I realized there is that I am so much more of a wook than a corporate boy.
For sure.
I'm these people, right? But I wear this hat, this costume by day, right? And that was that first, like, I don't know if I'm living the right life. And then my own Southeast Asia experience, right? Irrelevant in terms of going into the deep dive of the trajectory. But the point was I stopped doing what I was doing unconsciously. And that's what you're talking about is I got off the path, the well-trodden path that we all know where it leads to.
Yeah.
So step one is like, I'm going to go this way and I don't know where it's going to lead. And that's the point.
That's the point. Because in that groundlessness, there's infinite possibility.
Exactly.
Right? It's
literally.
It's not paved. It's not the highway where you know exactly where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
And that is both, you know, because that void, that not knowing, you could say it's pregnant with the infinite. Because we don't know, anything could be there.
Love that.
But that's also why it's so scary.
Exactly.
It could be awful. And it could be better beyond what you could even imagine. And that's where there comes a point of like trust. And for me, it was actually, what's the word? It was just complete desperation.
Yeah.
I was like, give me something else.
Yeah.
This cannot be it.
Yeah.
I'll put two in my head. It can't be it.
Put two in your head.
Yeah, I guess that's real quick. But yeah, no, I was just completely over what I was spoon fed.
Yeah.
And I was so convinced that this is generally just reality.
Yeah.
But something in me, I would say below my conscious mind, was like, this cannot be it. This can't be it.
This can't be it.
Otherwise, I've seen enough.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I was just pushed into that, like really taking that jump off of that well-trodden path into whatever the fuck else is there. You know, because I was just like, I can't do this. I need something else. And that took me into Eastern spirituality, which specifically Buddhism, which is very different.
Yeah.
They talk about, you know, in our culture, it's kind of taught to us that happiness comes from getting everything you want. But if you know wealthy people, very wealthy people, they don't seem that happy a lot of the time.
They're less happy than average.
Right. So it's like, I saw that at a young age and I was like, I don't want that. So what do I want? I don't know. So then the Buddhist tradition, for instance, says happiness doesn't come from getting everything you want. Happiness actually comes from letting go of everything you want. Then you just rest into the base of reality, which is sort of love and enough as it is.
Yeah.
But that's hard to do. It's hard to do. So for me, again, building boundaries against, say, the views of my parents, where my dad is like, what the fuck? You just got your undergraduate degree. You're going to waste that and go travel to India to be homeless, basically?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's where I had to build boundaries against him, build boundaries against my friends who just didn't get it. They would like, I love my friends, but like they just saw me as just like a crazy wook.
Yeah.
And like, I'll say that's part of it. I definitely was kind of a crazy wook, but it was very deep for me. It was like, it was kind of like burn the boats kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Like all or nothing. I'm going there, I'm finding something, or I'm not coming back.
Why would somebody burn the boats?
Because they don't want to go back.
Exactly. There's a part of you that's like, do you think about it like a job or a relationship, right? There's a part of you that knows you need to move on, but there's a part of you that's staying tethered for some reason. And mixing a couple pieces, right? So this mentor that talks about values, instead of damning addiction, damning horrible traumatic experiences you've gone through, it's about balancing your perception. What did you learn? What was the upside?
Totally.
So like when I work with people with addiction, for instance. I don't focus on the addiction, right? The thing that they reach for. I focus on the subdiction, the opposite vector of the addiction, the thing that they're avoiding.
Totally.
Right? Because you could reach for sex, you could reach for alcohol, you could reach for connection, you could reach for your phone.
Work.
But exactly. But what are you reaching away from? I don't care. That's all irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's the upstream sauce, you know? So I want to know, what are you avoiding?
Yeah.
What are you running from? Because we want to cure it at the source, not treat the symptoms downstream.
It's very Buddhist of you to say.
And it's funny because like the Eastern approach Eastern medicine is to heal it from within. So the manifestation of the skin condition evaporates, right? Whereas the Western medicine approach is you treat the symptoms externally, all right? So it's from outside in. It's artificial treating, right? Treating and managing, right? So Eastern and Western medicine, different vectors, but philosophy, similarly. Western philosophy is top down, outside in. It's understand it first. Like think of our textbooks. It's learn the proof of calculus. Learn how calculus works. I sucked at calculus, bro. Like I'm an engineer from Michigan and I almost didn't get my degree because I couldn't figure out calculus. Why? Because they were teaching me how calculus is constructed rather than this is how to use it experientially, right? Eastern philosophy is from the inside out. It's experience, enlightenment, instead of try to define it.
Yeah.
Like good luck defining enlightenment.
Totally.
And this is something else that one of my mentors, right? I have a lot of mentors. So here, let me even hit that pocket, right? Like, why do I keep mentioning mentors? It's people who have codes that I want to download. I want that little software patch in my being. I want to be able to perceive life through the lens that they're exhibiting. That's valuable to me. Yep. You know, and one of my mentors talks about using money to get into room with people who have the codes that he wants. So instead of buying their books, right, and downloading their information, he talks about being in their energy. Because understanding enlightenment, defining enlightenment isn't being enlightened.
No.
Understanding certain mentors or gurus or fucking, ascended masters in any space, understanding their body of thought doesn't get you the outcome, but feeling and being in their presence. Yeah. Like learning Ram Dass's philosophy in your brain versus being in his presence. Like loving awareness explains itself and is felt. Yep. And that's East.
Exactly. I think the broader kind of concept that we're pointing to is that the Western experience is predominantly from the neck up. We think about the world and then we experience that. We don't feel into, say, the energies between me and the people that I'm interacting with, between me and my lover, between, me and the earth. We don't feel into, enlightenment, for instance. If we really knew what that tasted like the Buddha has a quote where he's like, if you could experience enlightenment for one day, you would take that in exchange for getting stabbed in the guts every day for the rest of your life over and over again. So it's like, it's kind of a violent metaphor, but he's pointing to something dramatic. Yeah. It is that good. So again, thinking your way there, it's like, oh, that's a cool idea. Again, we won't get into specifics about Eastern Enlightenment right now because there's many different flavors, but what are they pointing to? It's an experience. Yeah. It's not a thought. Yeah. And I think of non-dual teacher Ramana Maharshi. He lived in India at this place called Arunachala, this big mountain, I think in Tamil Nadu, India. But there was a Western reporter who wanted to go see him. He's like a crazy well-known teacher in the 20th century. And he goes out there and has all these questions written for this, ascended master. And he sits in his presence and he forgets all of them. He just sits and he just basks and all the questions faded. Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck is going on there? Yeah. Right? There's a different experience of what we can call reality that is not purely conceptual. Because we in the West, so much of our suffering is purely conceptual. Yeah. We get caught in stories. We get caught in the stories of self and all the suffering that happens to this self. My life, my success, my failure. Are these stories or are they actually real? or are they just in my mind?
Yeah.
Such a valid question.
Yeah.
But again, as long as we're I just want to like loop it back to sovereignty, and sovereignty from the culture that we grew up in, that seems like the objective, quote unquote, way that things are. That culture is just one mode of being.
Yeah.
And the question is, do you like it enough to stay in it?
Mm-hmm.
Or are there other options? And then I think there comes a point where we have to question, like you said, really the values of the society.
Yeah.
For instance, nothing objectively wrong with money, but what are the pros and what are the cons of really devoting my energy and time to amassing money?
Yeah.
Can we just be honest about that? Because there are definite pros and there are definite cons when it's not balanced. So, yeah, I guess back to your story, I guess in this age of sovereignty for you, what have you gotten sovereignty from?
External authority, really, right? So I remember growing up and I was like, the Easter Bunny is real. The Tooth Fairy is real. Santa Claus is real. Jesus is real. Anything that my parents, who are God to me, tell me is real, right? And then one by one, Tooth Fairy ain't real. Okay. Easter Bunny, not real. Okay. Santa Claus, not real. Okay. So Jesus must not be real either. No, he's real. And I'm like, how deep does the deception go? Because you keep telling me they're real and then they're not. Mm-hmm. So how can I trust anything when you're telling me some truths and some lies, right? So as a kid, that's where it first started to appear for me, where I started to recognize patterns that this is real until I'm a certain age. And now you're telling me you lied to me the entire time, right? And then it really started, honestly, with psychedelics. Like, classic. Like psychedelics gets you out of your day-to-day personality self, right? The ego, right? It's your personality. It's your patterns, your cycles, your loops. And you start thinking outside of the confinements of who you are and the limitations of that person, right? Mm-hmm. And then once you start perceiving outside of that, you start to question things. And that's something, as you were saying, is like there comes to a point where you question things. And my entire mindset is just question everything. Like question everything. Even when I'm teaching and I'm educating, don't outsource your authority to me and say, oh, he knows. No, question me. Question literally everything. Mm-hmm. Everything. Science is a process. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's where, you talk about like 2020 and like trust the science, like the big S mouthpieces of science, because science isn't a person or an organization. Science is an unfolding process. Right. And the process of science is try to prove it wrong. Yeah, right. Science is try to prove it wrong, not try to prove it right. And if you try to prove it wrong every possible way and you can't, then maybe it's true.
But again, maybe we find something else in the future that disproves it.
And maybe it's not true.
Exactly.
Keep questioning it.
That's the thing, though. There's an inherent mystery in this whole place forever, without a doubt. We can never really fully pin it. But science, I see... So there's like science and the scientific method. Mm-hmm. Like you said, we're trying to just see what kind of works over and over again, repetition through multiple studies, trying to see kind of how this place functions. So there's a difference between recognizing how this world functions or appears to function, and then it's saying that is the objective state of reality. Yeah. Big difference between those things. So science never claims actually the objective state of reality. Never. Yeah. It's just saying this is how things seem to function. Yep. This is our best guess, actually. Yeah. So scientism is where it becomes like an ideology about objective reality. Yeah. And that is actually what I found related to the human ego and this solid ego when we identify as this real thing called Ben, when it's more than a story. It's actually really real. Yeah. That solid ego actually craves some solid certainty about the state of reality. Yeah. So in the age, as Nietzsche said, where God is dead, then where's my solid reality? It has to be in science. So again, the solid human ego is looking for a solid worldview to actually cling to for dear life. Exactly. But the freedom comes from recognizing we don't have to cling to any ideology. We can pick them up and put them down. Say even the very Christian ideology, we can pick it up and it can be beautiful sometimes. The words of Christ, the teachings of Christ, and the Bible in general. But then we can put them down and pick up something like science, and not be confined to one or the other. This is like a sign of real freedom. Actually, I can hold different views at different times depending on what's skillful and what's going to lead to the outcome I want.
Yeah.
And people get so stuck to either science, where science is objectively real, or religion, that's objectively real, or it's all made up and, you know, atheism is objectively real. You know, clinging to ideologies is the limiting force on our minds and on our experiences as a whole. So can we actually kind of lean into, I would say, sovereignty in myself to say, okay, fuck what everyone else is saying.
Yeah.
What do I believe? And from, I won't go too much into this, but the very Buddhist lens that emphasizes really the emptiness of all views, that they're all created and discovered, but they're not inherently real, but they're not made up. Real and the imaginary kind of blend into one thing in a very trippy way. So at that point, the question is not what's ultimately real. What is the outcome of holding a certain view? That's the real question.
Yeah.
What does it lead to? So what do I value? What do I want to let into my psyche? Yeah. And what's the outcome? Because if I'm just listening to, you know, I won't get too political, but very polarizing figures, or just say very polarizing ideologies in general.
Yeah.
If I'm letting that in, just be careful, be careful, be careful. Are you sure you want to let that in?
Yeah.
What's the outcome on your psyche?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, especially with the polarizing outcomes on either side politically, division, separation.
Yeah.
What does that lead to? Isolation, loneliness, actually hate and violence. And hate, I like the metaphor. It kind of burns the vessel that holds it. So when I'm hating other people, it's like eating me away from the inside. So are we sure we want to hold those ideologies? And I won't say don't do it. Let's just be honest and critical. Like, what's the outcome? You know?
Yeah.
And that's where we step into the void. Because when I don't know what the move is, as far as what view do I want to hold, it really takes some, I was going to say critical thinking, but it's more like just resting and not knowing.
Yeah.
And like what feels right. And for me, when I can go to that place and really rest in that groundlessness, I find love, just period. Love and groundlessness are actually like sort of one and the same. Mm-hmm. When I can learn how to relate to that not knowing and hold it and let it be here and like really learn to allow it, that's when I can sink into love, where it's like, I just don't see the hate. I don't see the value mm-hmm. there. I don't. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I got plenty.
Yeah.
First off, give it up one time for that riff, dude.
Let's go.
There were so many, dude. There were so many good ones in there. I think an undercurrent was perception. It's about perception. Yeah. And this whole game is about perception, right? There's that one story about this guy, the old days, this guy's son fell off a horse, broke his leg. Oh my God, that's horrible. He says maybe. And then the army comes in to draft him, but he's got a broken leg, so he doesn't have to go to the army. That's great. Maybe. Right? Like, we don't know. We don't know. Oh, I lost my job. I'm so sorry. That was the best thing that happened to me. Right? I experienced some sort of trauma that was horrible at the moment, and not to disregard the terrible, you know, there's some really bad stuff that happens. And do we become the victim of our experience and the victim of circumstance and let that define us? Right? So we become the victim, the perpetrator, right, is the villain. And then we look to some external authority as the hero to complete the drama triangle. Right? But true sovereignty is recognizing that, and this is where things get tricky. And I can already play devil's advocate to being like, but how can this how did they call that into their life? We don't know. All that matters really is that it happened and we're here. So let's understand why that happened and how we can be the creators of our experience instead of the victims of our circumstances. Yep. And that's what sovereignty is not being defined by something that happened to you. And I'm not in any way understating the level of trauma that people have gone through and saying you asked for it. Yeah. Not in any way am I saying that at all. What I am saying is that you get to take agency over your own life and understand, what do I want to create out of this because it has happened. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to let it define me and who I am. Mm-hmm. And that's really sovereignty is I choose. Mm-hmm. I choose.
Mm-hmm. There's a Viktor Frankl quote, which is, one of the last rights that can never be taken away from man. And Viktor Frankl, for context, is a Holocaust survivor, was a Holocaust survivor.
One of the few that survived.
Right. So he's, been in concentration camps, seeing everyone he's with dying. And he says, one of the last rights you can never take away from a human being is the right to choose how they respond to a certain circumstance. Yeah. So we have that always within us. We are never complete victims. We are co-creating our experience through choosing how to interpret things. Is this the will of God, as Allah wills it? The great creator? Is he doing all these things? Are they, however you want to define that great mystery? Are they pulling the strings? And really maybe making me, leading to a lost job, an end of a relationship, a painful injury, whatever. Is there a reason for that? Or is it just completely chaos and now I'm a victim? Because if I say, oh, there's a divine reason here, maybe I had to break my leg to learn how to come to myself and slow down. Or is it, now my summer's all shot and I'll never be able to hang out with my friends. Now I'm just like a loser. Be careful, be careful, be careful. Both of those views are going to be equally valid. And you can play with many, right? Yeah. Like what's the bright side there? Yeah. And can I actually put some energy into that? Yeah. And the mind tends to have this kind of, it tends to favor negativity. Yeah. Where all the things, and I saw this for myself in meditation retreats, everything I can come to terms with in my life, my future, my past, it comes and goes. Yeah. And eventually all I'm left with is all the shit I cannot accept in my life. And that's what buzzes in the mind. So the mind tends to find the things, again, that we are actually resisting, that we're contracting around, and it tightens around it. Yeah. And all of a sudden, all I see is how my life is all shot. So it takes practice, but it's not impossible. Just because that's the unconscious nature of the mind doesn't mean we can't actually cultivate the mind in a very different way. Yeah. To notice the good, which actually is always there. Yeah. Always. Exactly. And there's an art here, right? Because we don't want to invalidate grief, for instance. Yeah. We don't want to try to bypass that. Yeah. Grief is a natural part of life we need to know how to embrace. Yeah. But at the same time, finding I would say the light, the beauty. Yeah. And if you water that seed with your awareness, it's going to grow into a bigger part of your life. Exactly. If I water the negativity, it grows into a bigger part of my life. Exactly. Right. And consciousness is the water. Yep. Exactly. What we aim this spotlight of life force, of God force, expands. Mm-hmm. Right. So yes, experiencing the gravity of grief, because your somatic body is how you attune to God. How do you connect to the greater matrix, right? Is through this electromagnetism, and this body is the connection point. Right. So when this body is storing trauma, it's hindering the Wi-Fi signal of your ability to connect to source, to the Akashic records, whatever you want to call it. Right. We're all psychic. Right. We can have that feeling of somebody's watching me and you just snap your head back and somebody was looking at you. What is that? Yeah. There was something that was kind of imperceptible, but all of a sudden you snapped your head and you caught somebody looking at you. What's that? Is that pure randomness? And that's this, it comes up against this scientific material reductionist part of me. Because straight up, that's the world that I come from. Same. If I can't see it, taste it, touch it, and I'm all earth water. Right? So if I can't see God, how can I prove that it exists? Right? It brings me into a different thing. And your legendary rip was about choosing the experience that you want. Choosing the experience that you want. So we can be stuck in these thought loops and we're having these somatic lived experience of the story we're having in our head, right? The story that we're running. And we can make a choice of, is this the experience I want to have? Do I want to worry? So think about your open relating, right? How often, especially, so here, let me even own some of my own shit. So, right, I teach sovereignty. I live sovereignty. Okay, where are the places that I'm still trapped? Where am I not sovereign? And relationships is the biggest one for me. Totally. It's the biggest one for me. Anxious attachment, I definitely lean in that direction. Codependency, right? So I outsource my wholeness to a woman, a partner, a relationship, the vitality, the health of how it's going. And then I can't function unless it's in a certain place. So I am not sovereign because something outside of myself is dictating my internal experience. Yeah. That's anti-sovereignty, right? I am dependent on something outside of self, right? So choosing the experience we want to have.
Jaybird, Jason, shout out. He said something a couple of years ago that one of his masters or mentors had said, and it's, worrying is praying for something you don't want.
Wow.
Worrying is praying for something you don't want. And what does he mean by that? It's a clear intention, right? A clear idea, a clear vision, amplified by charged, heightened awareness, right? So it's emotionally amplified story that you don't want to happen. So you're supercharging it in this heightened state of worry. And dude, like once he said that, I think about how, and coming back to that rip, was like the praying for what we don't want, the perception. Oh damn, there was something. I wish I took notes.
No, it's all
on
good.
That one.
I mean, I could riff on that for a minute. I love that. So shout out Jaybird, Jason, you're the man. We gotta get him on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that one through, bro. That was a banger.
And it's so true, because worrying is what? I'm just actually ruminating, buzzing on the thing that I don't want to have happen.
Yeah.
So what comes to my mind is like experiences, like you said, relationships are the biggest teacher, and it really shows us where we're still stuck.
Yeah.
You know, where there still is maybe a lack of what I would call just love, actually.
Yeah.
Lack of acceptance in certain things. Again, rejection and abandonment are big ones.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of nuance in how to heal our relationship wounds. But when we are worrying about, say, my partner's going to leave me, or they're going to cheat on me, they're cheating on me right now.
Yeah.
And we buzz and we buzz and we buzz.
Yeah.
For me, what happens? And we fall into those insecure attachment behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I just pull back, or I go cold. And they're trying to connect with me, and I'm just like, I don't want any of it.
Yeah.
So guess what she's going to do? Probably over time, if I keep worrying like that and don't bring it to the light, she's going to find someone else to connect with, because I can't give it to her.
Yeah.
So it's like you're almost manifesting that thing that you are afraid of by buzzing on it.
Literally.
And I think this is where community is so necessary. And I think as men, a community of men that you trust, where you can say, hey, I feel insecure. I feel afraid that she's going to leave me, that she's going to cheat on me. And I'm like, then I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
To be able to share that with guys, priceless.
Game changer.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And I bet there's people listening that can't even imagine that. I couldn't imagine that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I just had this experience with one of my good friends, Jeff. We just went on this big long trail run. And at the end of it, it's just, you're in the mountains solo, really pushing your body. And we were just talking about our parents and how they're getting old. And he just said something like, make sure you tell them you love them before they're gone. And something triggered. And I really was able to feel all of the love and actually all of the pain that they caused me simultaneously.
Yeah.
And it came to this point of really letting them blend the pain with the love. And there's such a healing there. It's just I just forgive them. Yeah. And I love them. And just being able to sob and literally just be held by my friend. He just put his hand on my shoulder. And he's like, I got you. Yeah. And I'm like, thank you, bro. I can't, and it felt like scary. I could feel myself trying to hold back the tears, but I couldn't. And it was such a release, not just to have that healing around, my relationship to my parents, but to do it in front of one of my boys. Yeah. Which is terrifying, because I, like many men, I will say, have wounding from other men. Yeah. Especially when you're a kid. Imagine middle school kids. If you're you're either bullied or a bully or getting bullied in some degree. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, these complexities are playing out nonetheless.
Right. So there's so much wounding. And then being able to not worry about being called a pussy or made fun of, or again, being abandoned or rejected by the tribe. Being able to be wait, I can actually express myself. I can express my fears, my worries, my pain, and not be kicked out of the tribe for that as a man. Wait, all of a sudden I can feel again. You know? Yeah. And that's where, again, I think the culture, and I love what your teacher says about finding the light in that. And I think even something like bullying, if you're really looking at it even evolutionarily, there's a reason it does develop. But at the same time, there is a light side and a shadow side. Yeah. And then you have this age of, say, school shooters. Yeah. You're I wonder where that's coming from. Yeah. Right? So I think it's recognizing, again, there's light and dark in all of this. Yeah. And I think harmony is best. That middle way, as the Buddha would teach, balance somehow seems to be the best way through.
Yeah. It really is the way. you know, and talk about this modern spiritual space that a lot of us are involved in, right? It's like the love and light. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
Seriously, shut the fuck up. Like, I honestly don't want to hear everything that is going well. And frankly, that you want me to see as going well for you. That's what you're saying. What excites me more, and I am more of like the shadow worker. I want to know, like, where is life fucking you the hardest right now?
Yeah.
Where are you the most tender? Where are you the most vulnerable? Like, that's the deepest authenticity.
Totally.
Especially with men.
Yep.
Is that you can tell me everything that's going great. Yeah, that's great. But when you tell me like, oh, dude, like this breakup's rocking me. Go on. I was so invested. I was so certain. I chose this person. I did this. I did that. And now I'm feeling like I'm gutted. I'm feeling like I'm being forcibly removed from something, right? And I'm riveted and I'm locked in. Mm-hmm. And coming to your point around like having men as support systems, like you want to talk about a cheat code in life. It's having really deep, like radically authentic connection with your same sex, gender, demographic, whatever you want to call it. But instead of getting support from like other people or rebounding with other chicks, it's getting being held by your boys. Because guess who's gonna get you and what you're going through? Mm-hmm. Your boys.
And that masculine energy, it is holding space.
Yeah.
That is what in part, that is what the masculine is.
Yeah.
It holds space for the chaos of that feminine energy.
Yeah.
So for me, when I feel like I'm just like saturated with the feminine, I just need the boys to just fuck around with, hold space with, go do fun shit with, go climb a mountain.
Yeah.
And it's so healing, right? And it's that real support. Like we need to be supported by the feminine as men, obviously, but we also need to be supported by other men, by masculine energy. Yeah. That gives us our source of strength for something. Is what allows us to fall back.
To remind us who the fuck we are.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the big thing. When men show up in my life and I'm sharing, like, this is the story that I'm experiencing, right? To tie some of these tethers. Mm-hmm. Instead of, like, I'm da-da-da. It's like, here's the story I'm experiencing. Mm-hmm. I'm experiencing that our relationship meant nothing, that she's moved on, that this was meaningless, that I am not enough, that I am this and I am that. And you tell your boys, I'm experiencing this story. And what do they typically do? They're like, brother, I feel you. And that's fucking hilarious, because don't forget, you're this. And we reflect back your exalted side, because your boys know who you really are. Totally. So that space to hold that wounded, tender little kid, right? Because like rejection and abandonment, which biologically feels like death, your boys being able to hold the visceral experience of, I feel like I'm dying because I'm experiencing abandonment, rejection, betrayal in my animal body. And it's like, yeah, I'm here for that. I'm going to hold you in that. And do you want to have a different experience? Because don't forget, and then reflecting, like, these things were out of alignment, bro. Right. And you kind of lost yourself. Sovereignty, right? Kind of lost yourself in this. You lost yourself a bit. Right? Just coming back to you is kind of getting caught up in the, like, doing the thing, and you got all these fine ass ladies around you. And in your value system, women and connection is pretty high, right? It's neither here nor there, bad or better, right? But you're super hot and you're super tapped in, right? That connection is high in your values, right? So coming back to, let's talk about values for a moment. Getting clear on your unique, authentic values, and also recognizing that they can and will change over life. Right? Because when you're 8 years old, what are your values? Video games
and toy trucks and sandbox.
When you're 18 years old, like, bet your values are a little bit different now. Totally. I bet girls showed up after you hit puberty. Right? And what happens when you're 48, 58? Right. Family becomes a higher value than making money. Right? So our values are meant to change over life. And that's really the agency, is that we choose what we value, right? We choose, especially as men, we choose the hill that we die on. And some people are like, nah, don't say die on, say live on. It's like, well, the hill I'm willing to die on.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to die.
It's like, this is beyond me. And I think especially as men, to even touch a bit on like mission and purpose.
Yes.
If there is not something you are willing to die for as a man, and I'm speaking more as like an old school mentality, right? Not one of these like androgynous, like slippery tantra workers. Like, that's great. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right. I'm talking about more traditional masculinity is that I am of service to something bigger than me that I would be willing to lay my finite life down for because it's bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I'm a piece of.
Exactly. And I think finding that thing that, again, we are metaphorically and also literally willing to die for is so freeing.
I don't want to die for it.
But I'm willing to.
But I'm willing to because it's bigger than me.
Because it's bigger than me. And it's like the achievement of that goal, that purpose is more valuable than this one life. And I find that in kind of what I'm doing here with the podcast in part, what I'm about to start teaching formally, I realized like when I was like hanging with all these girls, like I was still doing my work and working on the brand, but in a sense I felt like I was forsaking this thing that is so much more meaningful to me than just the girls. And I love these girls. I love it. It's amazing. It's so nourishing to parts of my being, but it could never be the whole story. No. And coming back home to that thing that I'm willing to crank on, I'm willing to sacrifice beautiful sunny days for. I'm willing to sacrifice dope, parties with my friends to crank and work and get this thing dialed. Yeah. Because I feel like if I were to die and not have this thing up and moving and just shoot my shot to like contribute to the world in the way that I will say I've been like, I don't mean this in a cocky way, but chosen just through conditions. I ended up with these life experiences and learning these things, and I want to be able to give it back. Yeah. And if I can't do that, dude, it's just like, I was like sobbing thinking about that, like trying to tell one of my friends, like, I need to have boundaries because there's something that is so important to me. And I really started talking about this vision for myself and what I want to give. I was just in tears. Yeah. It's that meaningful to me. Yeah. And it's like finding that thing as a man, and it doesn't have to be work, obviously. And for me, it's not just work. It's like such a soul purpose. It could be family. Yeah. It could be love. It could be truth. Yeah. Whatever that hill is, when you identify that and you're willing to invest your energy into that, your days, your work, your time, it's liberation. It's freedom. Yeah. You can be disciplined and not have it be a sacrifice. You're sacrificing, yes, in a sense, for something so much bigger, for something so much greater. And that's like a relief to me. Yeah. When I'm putting this life into something that will carry on when this is dust. Something that for me, I know will be useful for other beings, for people, for human beings, for humanity in a certain sense. Mm-hmm. Being able to make something like that, dude, it's like, it's so different than any other job I've ever had. Yeah. Because like with construction, I loved construction. I loved, waiting tables too, actually. But there comes a point where it's like, who cares? Yeah. What am I doing? Well,
because that's a job. And what you're talking about is your fucking mission.
Exactly.
It's like your divine declaration. Like, get, cheesy with it. Right? Like King Arthur and like the sword and the stone and the chosen one will come pull the sword, right? Like we're all King Arthur. Yeah. And we all have a certain sword to pull out of a certain stone, right? And figuring out what that is for you is the game. Right? And when you're actually locked in on mission, it's beyond you and your finiteness. And that's where you're willing to make sacrifices of the lower values to prioritize the highest value. And it becomes a no-brainer.
Totally. I see it sort of a little bit of a depth psychological angle, but recognizing we're all, in a sense, you could say, living a myth. From the Buddhist lens of emptiness, it's all sort of made up in your mind. It doesn't mean it's not real, because everything is made up in your mind.
What we experience is real.
Exactly.
Just to make that 100%. If you experience your chick cheating, as you are experiencing it in awareness, it is happening, whether it's happened in the physical or not. It's happening in your awareness.
It's real in your mind. Mark Twain has a quote where he says something along the lines of, I've experienced some really awful things in my life, the vast majority of which never really happened.
Love that.
And it's like, that's our lives. Yeah. And so many people are haunted, including myself years ago, haunted by our own minds. Yep. And what could happen or what people might think of me. I have no proof. Ultimately, I have no also control over like the opinions of others. Why am I holding on to this and torturing myself? But like you said, and again, this aligns with the core teaching of Buddhism, which is emptiness, shunyata, which is, if we make it in our mind to be real, say my girlfriend's cheating on me or Trump's a reptilian time traveler or whatever, like it is in our perception real. And maybe there is a real way that things are, but in this age of like fake news where it's, like you said, so hard to suss out what's really real.
Yeah.
What we do have control over is, well, a few things. One is our perception.
Yeah.
What am I choosing to believe, and how is that impacting my life? And that's not a simple question. It's not just, oh, butterflies and rainbows are the way. Because if we just turn a blind eye and wear rose-colored glasses while the world is burning, maybe we need to try on a different view while the world is burning. Maybe there's not, it reminds me of Kuan Yin. This is a like traditional Chinese Buddha that kind of sits down and she's listening to the cries of the world. So she's listening to how to respond to the present times that we're living in. And I think that requires us to not actually just bypass the suffering inherent in our world in 2026 by choosing love and light only.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with spirituality that really does rub me the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's not spirituality if you're only choosing one side of the dream.
Yeah.
We need to integrate the darkness, and there are treasures there. People don't understand there are treasures in the darkness. And it's only when we can integrate that that we really come to, I would say, like a source of wholeness and actually strength.
Yeah.
I don't have to run from the darkness. I in a sense, you could say I am the darkness when I fully integrate it, and that's where with you, I love that point you said about as men and also human beings. And as a therapist, when we're just talking about, oh, life is pretty good, it's not that bad. But when someone brings me something very charged, like I just never have felt like I'm enough. Or like, I wish that my dad would love me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm all ears. There's something feeding me. Because in my experience, I feel like the darkness of other people, it resonates with my own.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be specific circumstances. It's just the experience of pain and darkness itself, suffering. I feel that something lights up and I'm like, I'm with you, brother. Like, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And I get to actually get closer to my own darkness.
Yeah.
And that is medicine. And that's where it's like a win-win.
Yeah.
And going back to like men in community and being able to share our pain and darkness with other men, I feel like that requires some degree of healing from those men.
Yeah.
Because again, the bullies in like middle school and high school, those are the ones that are hurting the most.
Exactly.
So if we can all heal, then I don't have to be like, sucks that you're hurting, or crack a joke when someone we know is really suffering.
Yeah.
When we're in a place of real, I would say, wholeness and healing, you don't degrade other people.
Yeah.
You don't talk shit about other people. You actually just want to help them.
Yeah.
Because you have enough. It's not a comparison game anymore when you really have enough.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is like the rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
And as more people start to heal, I see it'll spread like a wildfire.
Yeah.
Because we're not in this like trauma loops anymore.
Yeah.
We can actually start to break into something radically different.
Yeah.
And the trauma that we're experiencing in 2026 is largely, I would say in entirety, coming from we could go all the way to the genesis of life on Earth.
Yeah.
Like human beings, like when we were living in caves, again, fighting saber-toothed cats, or when we were trying to store enough grain to survive the winters.
Yeah.
Or else, your family's going to die. People are going to steal your shit, maybe kill you. Like life was raw. And that was not that many generations ago. So now we have all that trauma that's been passed down generationally. And now we're in this point of like, okay, we have everything materially. We have like a certain degree of comfort. Basically across the board. I would say universally, obviously. We still have many, many homeless people here in Boulder, which is sort of heartbreaking in a certain sense. But now we have the question of like, okay, what is a good life?
Yeah.
Right? Is it just the material comfort?
Well, and it's as if we have a quota of problems we need to experience. All right. So that's why think of like, I've been in some of the like slums in Guatemala, nobody cares about what Juanita next door may or may not be gossiping about me. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, right.
Right. I don't have the luxury to care about gossip. Right. And then we have these like housewives of Atlanta and Beverly Hills and shit. They have no like tier one. Think about like Maslow's hierarchy, right? They have no tier one foundational survival needs, right? They have no tier two needs going unmet, no tier three. So what do they care about? Perception, optics, and looks, because it's as if we have this neurochemical quota of stress, like cortisol and norepinephrine that needs to be met to be in, chemical homeostasis. So when we don't have measurable, tangible problems, we make them up in perception to get that hit to feel in biological homeostasis as humans that are built to be problem solvers and find problems, you know? And this is where like the Buddha, you transcended the biochemistry of the limited body by going, whoa, that compulsion to create problems is the suffering.
Exactly.
And, you know, enlightenment is the transcending of that, which comes back to perception. And I wanted to tap on one thing that coming back again to that legendary rip. And I'm like, okay, I got a couple more things.
Yeah, please.
Is love, let's start wholeness. Is wholeness one side? Is wholeness one side, or is wholeness the whole? Right?
Pretty obvious,
right? Rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Right? So is love just the one side, or is love the synthesis of all of it? Is it the fantasy and the nightmare? Is it the pride and the shame? Is it the altruism and the narcissism? Right? Is it the radical acceptance of all that is?
Exactly.
Love is not one-sided. And that's like the thing where I'll start like talking shit about the spiritual community. Like we're in Boulder, right? We're recording in Boulder.
Right.
And something that I love to say that some people do not like is like the cacao circle jerks.
Bro.
Where we just like come together and it's just like, okay, like we're blessed in I love cacao. Blessed cacao has nothing to do with cacao. It has to do with the ritual, the one-sided ritual that what I perceive as the one side of the spiritual community comes together to just masturbate around.
Yeah.
Right. And just like the love and light, tell us what you're manifesting. And this whole other side of personal development, this has been my focus over the last couple of years, has not been, let's learn about the Hermetic principles, right? Let's not learn any more information about how to transcend the game. Let's realize the limitation of playing the game at its fullest is the capacity of our nervous system.
Yeah.
So let's not forget that this avatar is the player of this game. So if you want to play the game at a higher level, you have to do some work on the avatar, right? And that's that thing that somebody said to you when you were a kid that's still stuck in you. Exactly. Like I have a traumatic memory with my dad, where basically he was scaring the shit out of me and I didn't have anywhere to go. And I have chemistry, right? Think of like the body keeps the score. Right? And this is the example that I use a lot. I had fear and energy that needed to express itself in defense of me, but I wasn't safe to. I was just locked up against the headboard in terror with my dad's finger in my face, wagging, right? What I needed to do in that moment is slap his hand out of the way, shove him, like exert the energy in defense of myself. I wasn't safe to at the time. So that energy was potential. I wasn't able to convert it to kinetic, got stored, right? Where? In my fascia, somewhere. In order to release that traumatic memory from not only my awareness, but from my physical body, I have to go back to the moment of perceiving that trauma. And I have to release the energy by experiencing it and by acting or speaking or doing. And that's where these like somatic release exercises are the real deal. Like I do some real deep work. I just had a private client come out a few months ago and we did a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff is traditionally very impactful. The most impactful exercise was I put on Rage Against the Machine, cranked it all the way up and pulled some couch cushions down and had her just pound the absolute shit out of them. To fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell. And what happened? Because she is so sweet and kind and generous and altruistic. And she has put everybody else in front of her. And what's happened is life has met her by basically delivering predators, by embodying prey energy. Right? So coming back to how we manifest experiences in our lives, if we are wounded doe energy, that's prey, right? And what's the perfect match for prey is predator, right? So what we're emitting is drawing in what goes with that, right? So being able to tap into the predator, tap into the part of her that needed to be, fuck you, don't ever talk to me like that again. How dare you try to tell me how to insert personal details? How dare you? Fuck you. Get right. So getting her into that place and coming out of there, she's like, whoa, that felt really good.
For sure.
From a rage release exercise, more than the traditional deeper work. Because the body determines the limitation of how fully can we play this game.
Exactly.
So that's why I've gone away from more of the traditional like ceremony work and the cacao and stuff like that. And I'm like, but I'm sober most of the time in the world. So how about I integrate my sober self into these principles instead of escaping my sober self to transcend the ego, to get the download. And then I don't actually patch the download into my sober everyday self. So I have to keep going back to be that. Instead of integrating it so I can be it without the thing. Like that's the point, is to be the thing without needing the external thing, coming back to sovereignty.
Right, exactly.
How can I be the living wisdom of the experience that I had in that non-ordinary state? How can I have that experience and integrate that remembrance of who I am and what's true in sober everyday life without outsourcing my authority to the substance or the guru or the shaman to remind me of who I am? How can I remember on my own? And that's how we maximize the game, is I don't need anybody to, and that's coming back to our boys. Our boys remind us when we forget, but at the end of the day, we don't want to need them to remind us ongoing. Right? They nudge us of like, also, don't forget, like, you're a bad motherfucker. You're a bad motherfucker, bro. Think of the shit that you've been through. And you think this is going to take you down? Think of the shit that you've been through. Think of the shit that you've overcome. One of the greatest pieces of advice that I got, I put my dad to rest in 2018. So I've been without my dad for 8 years. And my older brother, Kelly, has stepped in as that kind of father figure, like channeling fatherly wisdom, shit that like our dad would say. And one of the things that Kelly said to me when I was going through a really tough time a few years after our dad passed was, Dad used to always say this, his son, everything that you are going through will soon be what you went through. Don't forget that. It's temporary too. It's full, it's real, it's visceral, but it's going to make you a better man. Right? So we use, in how can sovereignty be a healthy thing? Right? Sovereignty is not toxic independence. Right. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. That ain't sovereignty. It's avoidant. Because now you need to not need anything. Right? So there's a need of not needing. Sovereignty is like, if people are there, I'll take it. If people aren't there, I don't need it. I'm whole on my own. I would love to have it. I would love to have it. So our boys remind us of who we are so we can carry the torch from that point forward. And that's what we're here for, of like, yo, don't forget. Got you. Like, that's real brotherhood.
Fire. What a riff. What a riff.
I know.
On that note, we got to wrap it up for now.
That's fair.
But bro, what a great conversation.
Yeah.
You said you live on the Front Range, right?
Yeah, I'm in Golden.
Sick. Okay, cool. We should definitely do another one of these.
Yeah.
At Live from the Source.
Yeah, the rebrand.
Exactly, the rebrand.
It's a perfect closure to this chapter too. Of talking about the end of, this kind of like girl heavy pocket and really stepping deeper into mission. And his spiritual fuckboy, the energetic or the texture that fits your mission.
Yeah, exactly.
Or has it been a chapter? A beautiful one at that?
It's been a chapter, and I think it has been a beautiful chapter, but it's been long enough for me to recognize this is not sustainable. This is not the vision long term.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. I think it is. I think it's genius in some sense.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
But it's perfect.
It's perfect. But also, like, what I'm bringing is not like fuckboy energy. That's not what I'm selling.
No.
What I'm teaching is so much deeper than that. Yeah. And it's it almost just seems degrading to myself. So I'm like, I'm over it. It was fun though. Yeah. It was fun. So, Jordan, I want to give you a chance to shout out what you're doing. I know you got a retreat coming up or a coaching cohort.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe shout out socials or where people can find you.
Yeah. So Jordan Rahme everywhere. At Jordan Rahme on Instagram, I think X and Twitter, just same shit. But the big thing I'm doing right now is this 8-week cohort called the Sovereignty Blueprint. So it's everything that we've been talking about, which is taking agency over your own life. So really going through this arc of how is everything kind of propaganda, right? Like, how has this game been staged in a way for you to not know what all your options are, right? Like, if you knew all of the options, you would probably choose differently, but choosing differently wouldn't really be what the powers that be want you to do. They want you to keep making the same choices, right? Drink coffee to get high and drink alcohol to come down, and don't think too critically because you might realize that we're pulling the wool over your eyes. So it's really coming down to synthesizing a decade of what's really going on here, scientific inquiry, so we can understand how we've gotten to where we're at. Because how we've gotten here directly impacts the vector of where we are going, right? Directionally. So understanding how we've gotten here dictates where we are going, and knowing where we're going and what our options are. Like, what are options with finances? You know, like, shit's starting to come loose, and like the markets are hanging on Trump's tweets right now, right? How fragile are Trump's tweets, right? So like, how can we set our money up for our family, and having licensed financial advisors supporting in that regard? Legal incorporation. Like, can I create a church? Can I create a 501 nonprofit? Like, how can I operate outside of the public domain so I don't have to follow the same regulations, right? So there's just all of these options that haven't ever been presented to us. And that's what I'm doing here is, here's everything that I've learned, because I'm a psychopathic nerd, all in one place. Here's what I'm not going to do, is I'm not going to decide anything for you. That's anti-sovereignty, right? So like, don't come in here of like, tell me what to do. What to do is do your own research. Yeah. You have to make choices for yourself. Like, that's what sovereignty is. So that's what I'm working on right now. Launches on July 7, the Sovereignty Blueprint. And yeah, an 8-week arc, bringing in some guest experts to really teach about like health, how to take care of our family, wealth, law, understanding this geopolitical apparatus of like controlling the media. And here's what we want you to know. But like, how much different is life than what we're told is real? Like, how much different is God than the damnation, argumentative Christian God? Like, that God's a dick. My God's not a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
My God's loving, and he also will spank you from time to time because he loves you.
Right, exactly.
So like, that's the shit I'm about. It really is about radical authenticity is my number one value. That's where we have the deepest connection with other people, you know? So yeah, that's really everything that I do and everything that I'm about, and trusting that authenticity is the new currency. And as long as you continue to just be your fullest authentic self and just saying it as it is, some people are going to fall away. Great. New people are going to come in. Great. Like, whatever it is, like, great.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Coming back to yourself over and over again. Jordan, you're such a great speaker and clearly a great teacher. I just want to give you that feedback.
Thank you.
Because yeah, I see it in you, and I can't wait to have you on again.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah.
And Jordan will be back.
Yeah, for sure.